Rainbow Dash ran up the ramparts of the crystal walls of the Castle of Friendship.
Friendship? What a joke! If I find her in there, I'm gonna wring her stupid neck. After what she did to Pinkie Pie, Applejack, and Fluttershy, she's gonna pay!
Rainbow thought as she maneuvered effortlessly around the magical mines that were now set in place. Seeing the balcony doors open, the Cyan Pegasus opted to crash through the stained glass window instead. They were probably booby-trapped anyways. As she felt her hooves start to shatter the brilliant work of art, an unseen force grabbed her from behind and flung her in a wide arch, slamming her against the adjacent wall before throwing her against the balcony floor. Rainbow felt the wind drive out of her body as she was then dragged through the open doors into the semi-darkness inside and then tossed to land in her own crystalline throne at the mapped table.
I was wondering when you'd come.
Twilight's soft voice sounded distorted, as if she was one of the many Twilights who had all spoken at the same time. Rainbow Dash, still catching her breath, scanned the room, shifting painfully into a sitting position so she could pounce in any direction if needed. It took her eyes a moment to adjust to the dimness of the castle. If the sky outside was clear, she'd have no problem finding Twilight in the room. After all, it was wide open. But the storm that was brewing outside was one she had never seen before. Its dark purple and blue clouds, casting a twilight state outside, and thus a near dark inside the castle itself. For a long moment, Rainbow just sat in silence, trying to detect her once friend by sound, but nothing moved. The mute room seemed to thrum upon her ears, making her long for something to shatter it. Each second felt like an hour, and each minute felt like an eternity. For a brief, horrifying moment, Rainbow thought that time had stopped and the world had ended. If Twilight succeeded in her efforts, the world might as well end now, before the suffering started again. It was after 10 minutes of this unbearable hush that it was broken by a soft,
You seem to have much to say, Dash. Why don't you just tell me? After all, a true friend can speak her mind.
Twilight's multi-voice whispered, now much closer than Rainbow remembered it to be when she first had entered the room.
True friend?
Rainbow felt heat rise in her face, her ears swiveling to pinpoint the location of the alicorn, so she could use her hooves to do the talking.
I have nothing to say to you.
Don't be like that, Dashy.
Twilight murmured. Rainbow stood where she sat, planting a hoof on the table for support as she scanned the gloomy room once again.
Only my friends call me Dashy, and you're not a friend.
She saw a shadow of moment by one of the chairs across the table. Snapping her wings open, she growled. Launching herself forward, Rainbow Dash flapped her powerful wings once more, bracing herself for impact. It wasn't until she counted to 3 that there was nothing there. Fanning out her wings to stop herself from running into the wall of the room, though she never knew it. Turning about, she felt vulnerable, knowing that she was at Twilight's disposal. Yet she lowered herself, readying for another lunge.
Very well, Rainbow. But I need you to know my side of things first. Doesn't our past friendship grant me that?
Twilight's voice held no emotion, though there were flecks of hurt in the echoing.
I need her to talk more. The longer she talks, the better chance I have of finding her.
Rainbow thought, as her ears swiveled to find the origin of the voice.
Fine, but that's as far as our past goes between us. You have a lot of answer for Twilight Sparkle, and I intend to make sure you do.
Rainbow snapped. The room seemed to breathe as Rainbow finished her threatening. It almost seemed like the gloom lifted a shade, and a sense of relief could be felt.
That's all I ask. You remember how all this began, right?
Twilight's many voices seemed to be happy about something. Rainbow subconsciously nodded.
You found the hidden history of alicorns and draconiquus.
Twilight's voices seemed to bubble like a merry brook.
Yes. You had no idea how shocked I was that Celestia and Luna had hid it for all those years. And hid it from me, no less.
Rainbow pivoted her ears to the right. It seemed like Twilight's voice was coming from that direction.
I can't tell you how sad it made me when I found their races had ended with an all-out war between each other. In fact, if it weren't for Celestia taking her sister and running, then the Alicorn race would be completely extinct. It's truly sad.
Even though she was talking about the end of one of the greatest races of the world, Twilight sounded like she had been given a book on her birthday. When Twilight did not continue, Rainbow continued the story, hoping to keep Twilight talking just a little more.
I remember that you went out and found one of their ruins. You weren't the same when you came back.
I figured out how to bring them back while I was there. I found the answer. I can bring them all back.
Twilight's voices stated to swell, as if the idea was enough to be joyfully over alone.
And what? Let them fight again? Let them ruin the world like before? There's a reason why they're forgotten, Twilight. I thought you'd be smarter than that.
Rainbow snapped, letting her own anger cloud her judgment. There was a pregnant pause, as the alicorn in the room seemed to chew the Pegasus's words for a moment.
You really think I'm stupid?
Funny, she almost sounds like her feelings are actually hurt.
Rainbow bit back a snort.
You think I didn't make a plan for that? I put up barriers for that.
Twilight demanded, her many voices bristling like an angry mob of Twilights.
Is that why? Is that why you tried killing us?
No, not kill you. It's complicated. I wouldn't kill you. Well, not exactly kill you, but trust me, it was important. For a good reason.
The gloom seemed to rise more for some reason. Rainbow started looking about, seeing the crystalline wall behind her. In front of her, she could see shadows of the cutie map and the chairs surrounding it.
It's called murder, Twilight. That's when one pony kills another regardless of reason.
Rainbow stated flatly, a plan formulating in her mind.
I didn't murder them! They had a purpose. I needed their elements. It's not my fault that the elements of harmony reside in the soul of a pony.
Twilight snapped suddenly. Rainbow blinked.
Soul of a pony? Celestia, what did you do, Twilight?
Feeling the blood run from her face, she stood up with her aggressive stance, suddenly feeling like flying as far away as fast as she could.
The soul of a pony can only be accessed once a pony has expired. The elements of harmony are bound to the soul of a pony, which is why only that pony can use them in the first place.
Twilight explained, though the sound of clopping hooves told Rainbow she was pacing, something she usually did when she was unsure about something she was talking about. Rainbow swallowed hard.
So you killed them and ate their soul?
The hoof clops stopped.
Silly Dashi, I didn't eat them. I simply ripped the element of harmony they held and bound them to my soul.
Rainbow sat down hard.
Wait. Ripped them?
Twilight must have noticed that there was something wrong with her statement, because there was a long, heavy pause before she responded.
That's what I said.
Twilight, don't you see what you're doing?
Rainbow felt panic rise up in her, but even more she felt the sudden horror of what was really happening crashing down on her.
But the elements can help me bring back 2 dead races in a way where they'll be peaceful. Is that not good?
The gloom seemed to dissolve, and Rainbow found she was sitting with Twilight, nose to nose with her. Twilight's eyes were a swirling mix of pink, yellow, orange, and purple. Her mane was floating as if static charged, and her body seemed gaunt, like she had not eaten in weeks. Upon her neck was a black spider brooch that seemed to be glowing a faint purple. Rainbow fell back and scooted away from Twilight until she was pressed up against the rough crystal wall, trying to put as much distance as she could between herself and the thing before her.
Rainbow? Is something wrong?
The spider at her neck seemed to twitch its legs, reverberating Twilight's voice. The gaunt pony put a hoof out to touch her friend, to tell her that it was all okay.
Don't touch me!
Dash shrieked, pulling away from the hoof as much as she could. Twilight froze, her face crumbling into sadness.
Dashi, please, don't be like that.
She tried to reach out again, but Rainbow flailed, kicking out with her hind hooves while twisting to find another way out. One of her hooves collided with the spider brooch on Twilight's chest. Rainbow Dash was halfway across the room, ready to leap off the table to soar through the high window when she heard a heavy thud from where Twilight was. Trying to stop mid-jump caused her to crash to the floor, where her vision went fuzzy for a few moments. But when it cleared, she heard crying. Anguished sobs rang off of the walls of the crystal room. Rainbow struggled painfully to her hooves and saw Twilight. Her wings wrapped around herself where she lay on the ground. Powerful sobs racked her body as she wept openly, unsure of what had happened. Rainbow saw the spider amulet on the ground, its little legs curled into itself. Confused, she took a step towards Twilight, this sudden change of demeanor making her second-guess herself. After a half hour of indecision, Rainbow closed the gap, touching a hoof to the shoulder of the wailing alicorn. Twilight seemed to notice, because her cries died down enough for her to talk some.
They're gone, aren't they? I really...
Yes.
Celestia, what have I done?